Hello guys, this is Zhicheng from the Tech Revolutionist, and today we're going to take a look at this new notebook from Gigabyte. As you have made known, the Gigabyte AERO series is actually a very thin form factor computer that has always given us very good performance. And with the launch of the new RTX notebook series from NVIDIA, this new laptop has been refreshed and installed with the new RTX 2070 or RTX 2080 Max-Q version, so you can really get extremely good graphics performance out directly from a considerably thin gaming notebook like this. So let's move on to take a look at some of the core features of this new Gigabyte AERO 15X9. So the X9 for this series, actually what it means that this version that we have here comes with Intel Core i7 8750H processor. So it's actually a hexa-core processor with 12 threads. And there's also a higher version with a Core i9 processor. That's the highest end of the best you can get out with the new Intel Core series processors out there. So at the same point of time, it also comes with the NVIDIA RTX 2070 Max-Q graphics card. Okay, as opposed to a higher end one, which is the RTX 2080 Max-Q version. So we have here, there is a 2070 Max-Q version. So let's take a look at some quick overview of these specifications as well as the ports around this notebook. On the left hand side, we can see a Gigabit LAN port, followed by a USB 3.0 port, followed by a HDMI port, a USB 3.0 port, and lastly 3.5mm and a microphone audio jack combo port. Okay, moving to the other side, we have a SD card slot, a lightning port that is in the form of a USB 3.0 Type-C, followed by a USB 3.0 ports, two of them, and a DC in as well as a Kensington lock. The interesting thing about the Gigabyte AERO 15 is that they have focused a lot on using all the best components out there in this computer. So this is the first time they are pushing this. They are having most of the components inside to be using Intel components. So for example, firstly we have the Intel processor. We also have the Intel wireless network card that is also powered by the Killer Network software system, followed by a Thunderbolt port, so that gives you a chance to actually plug into the external Thunderbolt peripherals. And it actually uses Intel SSD, so it's actually one of the fastest PCIe NVMe based SSDs out there. So it's actually a 760p SSD. There's actually 1 terabyte worth of SSD storage space within this notebook PC. And lastly, it also uses higher quality, higher end 266 MHz Samsung DDR4 RAM sticks. As for the display, this unit actually uses a calibrated X-Rite Pantone certified display. So it means that for graphic designers or for people doing creative work, you can actually get very accurate colors directly from this display. And for the gamers, good news is that this uses a 144Hz display, so you can really feel that responsiveness and smoothness when you are playing your FPS games or in fact any sort of games that you are playing out there. So it's really made for the gamers. And this is actually a 1080p Full HD display, so to make sure that your RTX 2070 is able to support this resolution very well at even very high settings of your different games. As for the keyboard, it's actually a fully RGB addressable keyboard. You can actually change the colors of every individual key on this keyboard to your own liking. If you don't like it, you actually can turn it off as well. And moving on to the audio quality and the speakers, and this actually uses a Nahimic Tune speaker system, which allows you to simulate a 3D environment. So let's say we are playing FPS games, you actually can literally, even though this is a 2.0 stereo speakers, you can actually simulate that surround sound system and know where your enemies are coming from. One of the most interesting aspects of this notebook is that it actually supports something called the AI mode. Okay, so they have something called the Microsoft Azure AI, which is said to actually improve the performance of your computer when you turn it on. So there are two kinds. There's actually the HAI series, which doesn't require you to connect to the internet, and the computer will automatically use its software to understand if you are gaming or if you are doing productivity work. So if you are gaming, it will actually boost up the performance of your graphics card so that you can get better frames per second directly out from the notebook. But at the same point of time, if let's say you are doing productivity work, the system actually understands that and actually gives more resources to the CPU instead, so that you can actually finish your task a lot faster and get more responsive experience directly out from the Gigabyte AERO 15. So let's move on to the performance test on this notebook. We want to find out how fast this computer actually works, right? For the general performance test, we actually ran the PC Mark 10 on this, and we managed to get a score of 5055 out of this unit. And next, for the CPU performance test, we ran the Cinebench R15 as well as the Blender BMW CPU render benchmark, and we managed to get a score of 476 seconds on the Blender BMW test, as well as 1130 on the Cinebench R15 test. We also compared it to the AI mode, so we realized that with the AI mode turned on, there is a slight increase in the performance of the CPU when this feature is actually enabled. But one thing that we really didn't like about the AERO 15-X9 is that it actually uses only a single stick of RAM currently in this system. So it's a single 16GB stick instead of, let's say, a dual channel memory configuration. So what you really get out of this is that almost half the speed of what you really get if you have two RAM sticks inside. So as you can see, when you compare it to the other system with a dual channel memory, the performance is actually considerably quite bad compared to the systems with a dual channel memory. And moving on to the storage test, we know that the Intel 760p 1TB SSD is actually a very good SSD, and we managed to get a 2.5 gigabytes per second read, sustained read, as well as a 1.5 gigabyte per second sustained write speed on this SSD. Moving on, we have the graphics test. Of course, this is the most important. For 3D Mark Time Spy, this card actually gave us a score of 6533, which is much better than the previous generation 1080 Max Q as well as the 1070 Max Q. And for 3D Mark Firestrike, which is still DirectX 11 based graphics test, the GTX 1080 Max Q perform a little better than the AERO 15X9 RTX 2070 Max Q. And for games, we can see the scores of the average FPS of the different games over here. We can really understand that this game is actually made to perform very well in all sorts of games at 60 FPS in high settings. So in conclusion, we can really see that this is actually a very capable machine. It allows you to do your productivity work well as play games very well too. So if you're looking at a new computer with a very thin profile, as well as good aesthetics and good performance, you can consider the Gigabyte AERO 15X9 with the RTX 2070 Max Q. Of course, if you're looking at something higher end, this also comes in the Intel Core i9 processor as well as the RTX 2080 Max Q version as well. So this is a quick overview and a quick review of the Gigabyte AERO 15 2019 version with the RTX NVIDIA graphics card. So this is Zhishen from the Tech Revolutionist signing out.